Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is John Kirkpatrick. I'm faculty member at the Evergreen State College. I'm here to introduce Rhema. And I was reflecting back on how this whole process started, and I'm still a little bit fuzzy on exactly how it is that Rhema and I ended up working together. We, in general, have rather different areas of expertise. I would say that that worked out really, really well in this case. In that I was able to help Raymond with certain aspects of her project, but Raymond was the one who came to the table with a professional partnership that she developed quite a while ago, and she's been working at the Estuarium community partner. And you'll be hearing more about the estuarium from Rhema. So she brought those connections, she made those connections and brought them into her thesis project all on her own initiative. And something else I'd like to say about Rhema is that Rhema has been involved with Evergreen for quite a while. Rhema is a Greener grad with her bachelor's before coming into the MES program. And Rhema has done an excellent job through the years at being persistent and persevering through the curveballs and the twists and the turns that we often see in the thesis process. But nonetheless, Rhema did not give up. And here she is today to present her thesis. So Rhema, please take it away.
Do I start my timer? Okay, here we go. Hello, folks, and folks that will be joining us on YouTube later. Again, my name is Rhema Neas-Gass, and my amazing presentation is going to be called Estuary Education Outreach Inspiring K-12 Minds. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so my study objective throughout this process, and it was a process, I will say. Oh, back one more. Thank you. This study is basically seeing what, through our programs at the Estuarium, what kind of stewardship opportunities kids would be interested in, and if they would even be interested in those stewardship opportunities after they went through a week-long camp with us. So we did several different camps throughout the summer, and they went out with us and we did various things. We introduced them to many concepts regarding environmental stewardship and, you know, the care of the land and sort of forwarding that through the future. Hopefully, you know, they got a lot out of it. So that's what we're basically going to be looking at is the results of their time with us. But yeah, so we wanted to analyze the relationship between the participation in environmental education and, you know, passing on those behaviors so that they would be inspired. Go to the next one. Okay. This is basically what the whole thing started with is the Puget Sound Estuarium. I started volunteering there and then I interned with Evergreen. And then I didn't leave. And then I said, hire me or I'm just going to stay here. And so I got really inspired by the education program and how people's minds were changing about the ocean and the estuary around us. And so basically I wanted to know if these students were getting anything out of it when they walked away from the camps, when they walked away from the programs. So what were they thinking and how were they taking away information from us? And this is via a STEM camp, again, that had classroom exposure and outdoor exposure. Go ahead and go to the next one. And of course, I cannot continue this without thanking the Estuarium for letting me research our programs, and also Paris, who has hired me, obviously, and is amazing. So, and is executive directing our entire facility. So thank you, Paris. Thank you, Estuarium. You guys are awesome. Go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so basically what we were trying to do was have hands-on connections as we were talking about climate change and things that are happening in the future and things that are happening right now, so that the students were able to actually touch and see change, and they were, you know, exposed to a lot of those situations. And we did notice in my research, I've noticed that there are a lot of issues with environmental education. People don't want to talk about climate change. So a lot of times we have to sort of reframe it so that it's not political lessen that it is just us trying to make sure that the environment is, you know, sorry, I'm freezing. So that the environment, you know, continues to stay healthy and wonderful. Yeah, so but we noticed that actually in the research, I noticed that, and with parents, I noticed that as well. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And so we typically work through these models that are involved in any of our programs. So the classroom enrichment is when we are doing science in the classroom, we're doing experiments, we're showing kids the pH of water and how it's changing over time. For example, as you can see in that far left photo, we're doing outdoor education to get them seeing the things in the classroom and then actually doing the things. And then the action-based portion is when we are showing them testing water and like how that's going to affect the health of the water and the estuary and also the wetlands, and then how it all kind of starts on the mountains and comes all the way down, and it just branches out into basically everything. And it's a cycle, as you all know. Go ahead and go to the next one. So we use several models when we are working. And those are the ones I showed you previously. And so these, like I said, are in classrooms and summer camps. We have 2 days inside the classroom doing science and STEM, different experiments and also just learning different concepts. And then we also have 2 days. I'm sorry. We have 3 days where we're outside in the field. As you can see, my coworkers and I are out in the beautiful Squaxin Park, which has a lot of biodiversity. And yeah, so we definitely have to do that rain or shine. So it's kind of cool because the kids can see, you know, the differences in the environment around them during that. Yeah, so we definitely make sure that everything is action-based because we want them to learn about the stewardship opportunities and how they can forward that. I know I said that already. Go ahead and go to the next page. Okay, so the study was Olympia-based and through the summer camp, and we wanted to know if the students were engaged in the local environment while they were here with us, and then we wanted to see if they were interested in taking action afterwards. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is the methodology. So as you can see on the right side, this is the survey. The pre-survey and the post-survey were both exactly the same. And so we actually had them all surveyed with a unique code so that we were able to give them one survey that's anonymous, but have them fill out the post-survey anonymously, but have it connected to the person who was taking the survey. And so they had a 1 through 5 basically to gauge their interest, and then 5 was the most, interested and or knowledgeable, and then 1 was the opposite of that. And then we did a t-test. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, and then you can kind of see on the left the codes. This is just like my spreadsheet with some of the information on it, but so you can see how we were coding the students throughout the camps and what the groups look like. So they were paper surveys, and they were given, like I said, right when we got in the door. That was one of the first things we did after introductions, and then right as they left, we did the post survey, and we did Excel, and we analyzed that. And they had the itemized numbers, as you can see behind the text, and then you can see that they were no idea, a little familiar, medium familiar, very familiar, and extremely familiar with the different concepts. Go ahead and go to the next one. And the most important part, of course, is the results. So let me just get to my notes. Okay, so we were looking at statistical significance here, and we'll see that in the next slide as well, because we'll actually crunch numbers. But so we had 51 students who actually participated in this survey, and we had 2 levels of students. We had students that were coming in, and those students were not connected to any organization. And then we had together students, and those folks, they were all underserved communities at a couple of North Thurston schools that we work with throughout the year. So they're really kind of knowledgeable about these concepts, and then we wanted to kind of test that against the folks that had no idea and were just coming in to have a fun time with water. So as you can see, question 1, they had a lot less interest in all of these things. Maybe some of them were just going to camp because that's where their parents put them. There's different variables with each student, but the most important thing, as you can see is that in the post survey, in that like aquatic blue color, that's lovely, that everybody actually got something out of it. So everybody was actually a lot more interested after we went through things and we went outside and we actually got our hands dirty. We, as I said before, we have different groups. So the 6th and 8th grades, they had less participants, and the average number was 12. And I find it really interesting that, actually go to the next slide. I'll talk about my interests because it actually pertains better to this slide. Okay, here we go. These are the numbers, so we can crunch those down. So it's really exciting to see that everybody was really interested in a lot of the different concepts that we had. As you can see, the dark green shows the ones that are most significant, and the tree planting seemed to be a really exciting factor because we definitely talked about that a lot while we were out in the wetlands. But people were not as excited about the volunteering part after, which was the main question that I had. And so that was a little bit disappointing to see. And also we were thinking about, or I was thinking about the recycling concept being kind of low-ish as well. That not all students might have access to recycling in their homes or schools, or might just not even have that concept in their brains before we started. And then also for volunteering, they also might not have access to, especially if they're minors right now, to like transportation or maybe the information that would carry them into a stewardship position as well. And they might only be exposed through camps or together programs or STEM camps. Yeah, and so go ahead and go to the next one. So we had a couple of limitations. I kind of discussed a couple of those before. Oh, I've got 4 minutes. Awesome. The primary limitation is that it only measures a student's desire to perform actions rather than the rate that they actually perform them. So that could have been an interesting factor that I could have added into the study. We also had, as I said, the different groups sizes, the larger sizes being the students that were already exposed to the topics of stewardship. And my dog is right here right now. Groups were the biggest ones. The biggest groups that were the fee-based students, which were the students coming in who had no knowledge prior to the study, had the smallest amount of folks that we could get information from. Go ahead and go to the next one. And so in conclusion, we demonstrated that environmental education programs have an impact. The elementary, middle school students had that exposure to the processes that would take it would take them to make changes in their own life or in their communities to get involved. The education is obviously the first step, because if you don't know about what you're doing, you can't further your knowledge on it, especially, or if you don't have access to it also. But what is good here is that at least somewhat of an impact on environmental perceptions of middle and high school students were made. And so obviously we've got to keep continuing that and expanding the concepts so that students can really, be inspired, obviously, and take that action later on. Go ahead and go to the next one. Here is some sources and a cormorant. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is a chubby seal who's really cute, and more sources. Go ahead and go to the next one. And for the folks that might be watching this later, we are always looking for volunteers. We are always looking for, actually, we have CCAS interns from Evergreen, and we love to get more of those at any time during the year. So you're welcome to apply with CCAS at Evergreen to come work for pay with us, which is cool. We're also doing some drag shows, so I have some information about that. If you know people, please hit me up so that we can get them involved in our shows, because we want to educate in a fun way, and pirates are cool. And that is actually the end of my presentation.